what do I have to do to grab your attention, to make sure you actually pay attention and are about to learn how you can set the frame on a sales call so you can actually start making money, right? So I would say, let's not waste time and get into it. Woo! All right, Leofery, my name, founder of Operation Growth Nation, 2-time school winner, and I've done over 6 figures in sales in the last couple of months. And I just want to teach you today one of the questions that my students ask me, and which is, how do you set the frame on a sales call? I apologize, I'm a little bit sick, but it's not going to change me from teaching you a little bit of stuff. So how do you set the frame? Well, first we got to understand what is the frame. The frame is when you come into a conversation, how are you going to position yourself? And let me explain what I mean. Every one of us has so-called boxes, right? Right? And to give you an example, one could be friend, one could be colleague, right? One could be no clue, right? This is just in terms of association, enemy, authority, right? And so on and so forth, right? Now, from there on, what kind of other things are going to attribute you to? For example, now we're going to have even more boxes, right? For example, those boxes are going to be nice, smells, right? Or whatever, ugly. Or you can have another positive thing, right? Could be good looking, right? Right. So what is this all about? Let me explain to you. The important thing you have to understand is that we are judgmental. It doesn't matter what you want to tell me or not, we all judge, right? And we need to judge because that helps us survive, right? We judge a situation to know whether or not it's safe for us, right? We judge to know who to put into what category, right? And so the most important thing you have to understand, no matter who you encounter, and the thing I love about sales, it's for everything. Sales, no matter what you sell, who you sell to, or if you sell yourself to a girl or to an employee to get a raise, it does not matter. Sales is really for everything. So you have to understand that people are going to put you into boxes. And you know how quickly it takes for people to put you into box? It's going to take people, if my pen would work, it obviously doesn't, which is great. It's going to take an average person, there we go, 4 seconds to put you into a box. 4 seconds. From the first point they see you, it's going to take a person 4 seconds to judge you, right? Like, you could judge me being in fucking shorts in a jacket outside and being sick. Pretty fucking fun shit, right? You're going to judge me, and as well as everyone else is going to judge you on a sales call. So how can you make the first seconds the most important ones, right? So false first seconds mostly is appearance, right? Now, in my case, I just don't give a fuck, which is also a certain frame or box you can put me in. A guy who just doesn't give a fuck, right? Now, after that comes the first encounter, right? In terms of first communication. In a person sale, that would be, for example, the handshake. The handshake is so important when you are in a person sale. Now, let's say you sell online, right? The thing you have to understand is we're all going to be put into boxes. And the most important thing in sales, in the box you want to end. You don't want to end as a friend because nobody buys from a friend. You don't want to be a colleague, nobody buys from a colleague, nobody buys from an enemy, right? Nobody gives a fuck if you smell because you're in a sales call, right? The thing you want to aim for, and then this pen is now dirty as fuck, fucking shit. You want to become and be perceived as an authority, right? Why does this matter? Because if a person does not perceive you as an authority, they're not going to give you your money, right? So how do you become an authority from the moment on? So the first thing you have to do is demand respect. If you cannot demand respect from the other person, means that you don't respect yourself, right? And nobody listens to someone who doesn't respect himself. So let me put that away and tell you how to how do you establish authority in the beginning of the call, right? Because the goal is, now I've explained to you why you need to care about it, right? And what is crucial. Now, how do you actually get established authority? As you can see, I literally my pen is now dirty as fuck. Authority. Right? Now, the first thing you gotta do, and I'm gonna give you an example of what I would say on a call, is, hey John, thank you for joining me in today. How you doing? Awesome, cool. So before getting into it, I just want to clarify a few things. I'm just going to ask you some questions to get to know you a little bit better and see if there's anything I can do to help you out. And if we see there's nothing I can help you with, we're just going to end it early so I don't waste your time and neither mine, right? But if we see that we can actually help you, then I'm going to show you how we can help you. Does that sound fair? Cool, let's get into it. So what I just said were a few important lines, and why it is so crucial. It's called setting the frame. So first, most importantly, you want to just ask that person how they're doing, right? Genuine respect. But once that is done, you want to go and say, hey, thanks for joining the call, John, today. I just want to clarify a few things before going into it, right? So you want to establish from the get-go, take control of the call. You don't want them to start asking you questions. The worst thing that can happen in the beginning of the call is they ask you questions. You ask them questions, because the person who asks the questions is the person who is in control over the conversation. Does that make sense? The person who asks the questions throughout the entire call is the person who is in charge, right? So you need to be the person asking the questions during the entire call. Even more important, in the beginning. So, hey John, before getting into it, there's a few things I want to clarify. First thing, I just need to find out a few more things about you, get to know you a little bit better to understand even if there's a problem we can fix. And if there's none, we're going to end it early. I don't want to waste your time, not my time, right? You show them respect and you demand and you say, hey, I also respect my time, right? And most important thing about being perceived as an authority, you respect them as well as respect yourself, right? Never say, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your time, neither my time, right? So you respect both people. So if you don't respect yourself, you're never going to build authority, right? But that's a mindset issue that we can address another time. So, important thing that is said. Now, thank you for joining in is also appreciating the person coming in. But let's continue on the point of, you just told them, hey, if there's no problem we can fix, we're just going to end it early. But if there is something that we can help you with, I'm then going to show you how we can potentially help you. Does that seem fair, right? And now you get them to validate your thought and your process of the call. Now, there's two important things, right, in a call. If you really summarize it, you have the discovery phase, and then you have the pitch, right? And before that, you have the frame and so on and so forth, but these are the small details, right? So, in discovery, you want to ask them questions to find out their problem, right? Which is actually, if you want to keep it super simple, I'm trying to simplify it way more than it actually is, but this is so you get an overview. Problem, solution. Simple as that, right? So, you're not going to find out the problem if they don't answer your questions, if you don't ask questions, if they don't let you ask questions, right? And you're never going to be able to find a solution to a problem that you don't even know exists or you don't know what it is, right? So that's why setting the frame is the most important thing in a call, because you want to get them to answer your questions, right? So that's why in the beginning you say, hey, John, look, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions in the beginning to get to know you a little bit better and understand your situation better, to find out if there's actually anything we can help you with. And if we see that there is something we can help you with, then I'm going to show you how we can help you. Does that make sense? Awesome. So you need to, from the get-go, by setting the frame, is telling them, okay, here's how it's going to go. Is that cool with you? Does that make sense? If they tell you yes, tell them, hey, look, we spoke about it before. I just need to ask you a couple more questions so we know exactly how we can help you, right? But you need to get them to agree to the agenda of the call, right? Like a CEO coming to into a board meeting saying, okay, what's the agenda? I want to tell them, okay, we need to speak of this, 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 and this. Cool, this is the agenda, let's get into it, right? And then there's no question about the agenda. Everything will be covered on the agenda, and then the meeting is going to be over, right? And the same thing goes when you hop on a call, right? It needs to be clear what the agenda is. The agenda is questions, solution. That's it, right? They need to know it, you need to know it. So some people have had the problem where you try to set the frame, you fuck up, and then you try to ask questions, they're like, why are you asking me these questions? Like, just get to your pitch, right? And you're like, I don't know what to do, and then you get scared, and then you open your presentation and it starts being a bunch of bullshit. To prevent that, it's more important that you get good at setting a frame than to have a sexy presentation. What I mean by that, it might happen that you fuck up, and then discovery phase, like I said, they question you, why are you asking me this? Then you want to re-go, right? So you want to loop back to the frame, right? Even if it already seems like it's not going too well, you can save it back by going back to the frame. Hey, I'm asking you this question because for me to be able to find out whether or not we have the right solution for you, and what the solution is going to be, because I don't know yet. We need to find out what exactly it is that you struggle with, what's the problem, and more important, to get to understand your situation, right? That's why I'm asking you the questions. I wouldn't ask them if it would be just to waste your and my time, right? So do you mind me asking a couple more questions so we can see exactly? It's not going to take you long. That way we can actually find a solution which will actually help your problem, fix them, and make you and me happy. How does that sound? Cool? Okay, let's go back. Then you continue asking questions. Now, like I said, this is called circling back to the most important thing, which is the frame, because the frame gives you authority. And if you don't have authority, then I'm going to give you a bullshit answer. So when you're going to ask them what's their goal, I had it back there in the beginning. Someone told me $1 billion. I'm like, come on, he's fucking bullshitting you, right? At this point, so you really want to make sure that you get good at setting the frame. And like I said, the frame, most important, is the appearance you have, and then the first sentences you say. So of course, first you say hello, welcome, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just recapping quickly. You just ask them who they are, and then you go and set the frame, which is basically a few lines, which is, hey John, thank you for joining me in. Now, I want to clarify a few things before going into it. First, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions to get to know you and understand your situation a bit better and find out what the problem is. And if we see there's a problem we can actually fix, I'm then going to show you exactly how we could potentially help you solve it. And I would say if we don't find anything, we just end it early so we don't waste your time nor my time. If there is, I'm more than happy to get into it. How's that sound? Sounds good? Perfect. Then get into it, right? And like I said, another point which is important, which is appearance, right? Do not, for God's sake, show up in a fucking bedroom with your bed behind and a gaming headset. Don't do that, right? You have to imagine that the people you're working with run companies, and the important thing is you want to be casual, right? You want to have a natural tone, like speaking to a friend. You don't have to be fucking hyper professional, because no one in the business world is professional. It's a 9 to 5 belief that professional world is professional tone, doesn't exist. But still you want to appear a little bit correct, right? You don't want to appear with shorts, right? If it's a person business meeting. If not, it's just having a black t-shirt and AirPods or just your MacBook is more than enough, right? So appearance is important, and then, like I said, set the frame, which will give you authority. If you do not have authority, the entire sales call is not going to matter. So literally the first 20 seconds of the sales call are the most important one. So you really, really, really want to get good at that. Now, something quickly I want to emphasize is, it's great to learn, but there's something called, something I've learned from Charlie Morgan, which is just a guy, doesn't matter too much, right? Which is, first, you learn, right? Which is by this video, right? You just learn how to do it. Then, this is, by the way, the cycle of success, right? Or the triangle of success, however you want to call it. Then you implement. Now, the important component of it is the third one, which is feedback, right? If you have no feedback, you don't know what you did wrong, right? And you have someone to have to shit on you, right? If there's no one who's going to shit on you, you're not going to improve, right? So you learn, you implement, and you get feedback. And then, of course, there's something called the overall environment you're in, which is going to dictate how successful you're going to be. And so you can represent that as a sun, whatever you want to call it, which basically just represent the environment you're in, right? And so if you're in a fucked up environment, you're going to get fucked up results. If you're in a good environment which is supportive and which is actually going to give you good support and feedback, you're going to grow, right? So my voice is really dying out right now, so I'm just going to call it for the day. How do you set the frame? Should explain you. If you have questions, I need some inspiration for the next couple of videos, so just put in the comments what you want to learn about how to sell AI, how to sell in general. And if you want some feedback on your sales, there's a link in the community, in the chat below, and you can go on and just check out. There's more help for you there. But if not, just make sure to give it a follow, and I shall see you in the next one. Peace out.